And that is a Memorial Day feast. Good morning, everybody. So I just set up my smoker to the electricity. I have set this for 250 degrees right now. Whoa. Interesting, so it must be picking up the frame rate on these. Well, I'm gonna wait till this gets up to 250. I'm gonna set it for 8 hours, and I really just want to get the temperature of the pork shoulder to about 190, 200 degrees. What I have here is some applewood chips I have soaking in some water, and that will kind of make them last a little bit longer. Gonna give that a smoke. I have the grease trap all hooked up just in case. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get some water. Got the water tray here. Now the heating element in this is underneath there, and I'll put the water in when the shoulder goes in. So this is the water tray. We got the chips. We're gonna go into here, drop them in, and I'm just gonna drop them over the heating element. And honestly, I should probably get some boards or something to make this level, but we'll wait until this preheats. That actually looks really cool. So at 82 degrees, we'll get it up to about 250 before I put it in, and then we can start the low and slow. So this is going to go for about 8 hours. It's about, what, 8:15 in the morning right now, so should be ready, you know, somewhere around 5. I want to, you know, let it rest a little bit, get everything all set up. Well, we finally reached preheat temp on our smoker. I have the glorious pork shoulder that has absorbed a lot of that rub, kind of the mustard and the rub, made a paste, and it has kind of soaked in on all sides, which is nice. What I'm gonna do now is I have my fat layer on top, I have my water here, and let's get this puppy in. Actually, first I'm going to see how that's a little wobbly. I'm gonna make it stable first. Okay, just grab some plywood here. When it's a nice little surface, I'm gonna put that on there, and then we'll get the pork shoulder in. Right, Chewy? In goes the water tray. And we'll keep this, I'm just gonna keep this here. And we'll keep the shoulder, I guess, on this rack. We actually might have to, ooh, that's kind of hot. Oh, take this guy out. Ouch, fuck. All right, and this will go in, slide in perfectly there. Awesome, we'll close that. And now it begins. What we'll do first is put some chips in. And just a pinch of chips. Get some good smoke on here. What this will do is fall right onto the heating element. And I hear that nice little sizzle. These will create a nice smoke. And with this is the amount of smoke. If you want a really heavy smoke, we'll close it all the way. If you want a light smoke, we'll leave it open. So we'll just, for the first few hours, we want a nice smoke on this. So what we'll do is we will fill up the chips about every hour. And then we're also gonna squirt the roast with our 1-to-1 mixture of apple cider vinegar and apple juice. And also keep checking the water because we want a nice moist inside. That way it kind of creates that good looking bark. So we will check back in a bit. Well, we are a couple hours in, a couple refills of the smoking tray in, and what I have here is my secret sauce, my 1-to-1 apple juice to apple cider vinegar. Ooh, got a couple Baltimore Orioles over there. what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna open this up. Oh, the Dutchman's treasure. And then just kind of keep the moisture going in there. Alright, give that a little squirt. Okay. I'm gonna refill the water tray. Make sure it's extra moist, get that good bark. And we will check in a bit. That nice smoke coming out of there. And we got the baby, Chewy. He loves the water. Well, it has been 8 hours and this baddie is done. Internal temperature of 200 degrees. Looking really good. Smelling fantastic. Got the shoulder bone peeking out there. After we rest, we'll get that baddie out and then it should be time to shred. And I know you can shred with the 2 forks together, but I'm going to use the best tools in the kitchen. I'm just going to use some washed hands. 20 minutes, and this should be ready to pull. Yum. Juices. We have our slow and low 8-hour pulled pork shoulder. Now let's see if we're tender. Kind of hear this. Ooh, looking. Oh man, that's looking really, really, really good. And what? Oh yeah, amazing. And what I'm gonna do, let this cool down, and then I'll give this to Chewy. Let him gnaw on the fat a little bit. So I'm gonna transfer this into a fresh one for serving, and I'm really just gonna pull it apart with my hands. It's still pretty warm, which is nice. Put it into relatively large chunks. Bite size anyway. And that's looking fantastic. Wow. Just gonna pulverize it here. Oh, and that bark too. Let's give it a taste test. Oh yeah. Can taste that smoke, but it's not overpowering. I use an apple wood. I prefer fruit woods, a little sweeter on the smoke rather than the hickory or the mesquite. And actually what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna break it up into some chunks here. Oh, and kind of let these chunks individually cool down. Oh, look at that, look at those juices. Probably could have let it rest a little bit longer too. Oh, wow, that is hot. I'm gonna let it cool down a little bit longer, and then we will finish pulling. How I like to assemble my sliders, or my pulled pork sandwiches, is I do like to use sliders, and I like to use the Hawaiian rolls. I think it brings a nice sweetness to it. What we're gonna do is we'll take a heaping forkful of our pulled pork, or 2 heaping forkfuls of pulled pork. Put that on the bottom. And I like to retain this order, but this is just how I like to do it. Next, a little bit of the Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue sauce. A little drizzle. Yeah, a little bit more. Perfect. Next, a little bit of coleslaw, Dad's famous coleslaw recipe, for the crunch and for the creaminess. And finally, top it off with the bun. Lastly, but not least, a heaping couple spoonfuls of our Picnic Perfect pasta salad. And that is a Memorial Day feast. Looking good. Oh, fantastic. Well, thanks for watching, everybody. Enjoy. Let me know what you think. We have our 9-pound bone-in pork shoulder, and what we're going to need to prep everything is our foil pan, some yellow mustard, and gonna need our spice rub from earlier. The first thing we're gonna do is pat this dry on this side, and the fat cap is on the other side. We're gonna take a little bit of fat off it, but you know, we really want to keep a lot of this fat in here just for the flavor while it's smoking. We're pretty much gonna do a 8-hour cook at about 225, putting fresh wood chips in every hour for the first, I don't know, 4 to 5 hours, and then also going to be spritzing it with our secret sauce, aka a 1-to-1 mix of apple cider vinegar and apple juice. So we have that dry, and this fat cap is pretty thick. I think I'll just try to get an extremely sharp fillet knife here. Gonna try to, you know, take a little bit off that. We want to keep some of it, but I think taking off some of this fat cap might be a good idea. So just kind of feel that layer. And of course we have the peanut gallery over here who smells this. Chewy. Hi, Chewy. Okay, so yeah, just a little bit of meat. You can really feel that on the inside. And a little bit's fine, but for the most part, just want to get rid of a lot of this fat layer. I'm just going to work my way down, kind of peeling the layer as we go. And this quickly turns it in from a 9-pound bone in to probably about a 7.5. This is a cap for sure. Alright, and honestly that might be fine. Big load of fat. This can head on over to the trash. No. Oh yeah. Cool, I guess, yeah, what we'll do is we're gonna save this and we'll just maybe throw some birdseed on it and turn it into a suit cake for the woodpeckers. So that gets saved. I'm actually gonna take this little strip off as well. Yeah, not if the raccoons don't get to it first, right? Okay, looking pretty good. Well, what we're gonna do here is get it pretty much patted dry. Fits perfectly into our pan. What I'm gonna do first, just constantly re-rinsing. And now that the fat cap's off, we're going to cover this in yellow mustard. Not a whole lot, but just enough to moisten the surface. That should be good there. Just to have something for the rub to adhere to. Just kind of get it all in these crevices. Mystery speck. And that actually should be pretty good. Gives a little tanginess from the vinegar and the mustard. We want to get all sides. And the rub and the mustard kind of creates a nice little paste there. So there's your bone. That'll come out very last thing, right before pulling. And ooh, looking good. And this will create that nice bark too. we will get this thing on and into the smoker first thing in the morning. Do 8 hours at about 225. We want the internal temperature to get to about 220. We will check back in tomorrow. So for the spice rub for this pork shoulder, what we're going to need is an array of measuring cups and spoons, some ground paprika, some ground cayenne, cumin, garlic powder, onion powder, black pepper, some kosher salt, some Mrs. Dash original, of course, chipotle, chili pepper, Montreal steak seasoning, and brown sugar, and then finally a jar to put it all in. So the goal of this spice rub is we're going to do half sugar, so about a cup of sugar, and then a cup of everything else, or a little bit over a cup. 1 cup of the brown sugar went into our jar. Next we will add in 1/2 cup of the kosher salt. Next we will add in 4 tablespoons of ground paprika. Next, we will add in 2 tablespoons of black pepper. Next, we will add a teaspoon of cumin. Then we will add a teaspoon of both the garlic powder and the onion powder, the Mrs. Dash, the chipotle pepper, and the Montreal steak seasoning. Lastly, we will add a 1/2 teaspoon of cayenne pepper for a little heat. If you like more heat, then feel free to add more. Got some nice layers on this. We'll shake it all up and it will be ready for the pork shoulder.